This story took place in a small town in one of the states of the United States of America. On the outskirts of this town, there was a wooded area. Local teenagers went to this forest to get a dose of adrenaline. When they came to this forest, they told each other stories about missing children and the ghost of Old Bill, the ghost of a lumberjack who supposedly still wanders between the trees with an axe. Two 17-year-old friends, Jake and Evan, decide to check out these stories. They wanted to see if the stories were true. On Friday, October 13th, they went into the woods. They took flashlights and a camera with them, intending to shoot cool content for their social media channel. It was business as usual, laughter and silly jokes. They shouted loudly into the darkness to provoke the ghost. They walked into the center of the forest, and then Evan noticed something strange. A tall figure flashed between the trees. It was unnaturally elongated, as if the man stood on stilts. "Did you see it?" Evan whispered. Jake shined his flashlight on the figure, but there was no one there. "Relax, they're just shadows," Jake said, but he looked around suspiciously. They walked another 60 feet or so and heard a soft creaking sound. It sounded like someone was walking behind them. Someone was following Evan and Jake, echoing their every step. They turned around but saw no one. The flashlights began to flicker. The flashlights would turn off and then come back on, even though the batteries were new. "We have to get out of here," Evan said. At that moment, he heard a loud snapping of branches. It was somewhere very close to him. Then a figure stepped out of the darkness in front of him. It wasn't Old Bill. It was something else. It resembled the figure of a man. However, the creature was tall, too tall, with unnaturally long arms almost touching the ground. Its face was like a blurred mask, as if someone had erased its features. It bowed its head and made a strange sound. It sounded like something between a creaking door and a human whisper. The friends were frightened and ran away. They were so scared that they didn't even have time to scream. They just sprang from their seats and ran. Evan and Jake heard footsteps behind them. Quick, jerky, as if the creature were moving in spurts. Branches slammed into their faces and the ground fell away from beneath their feet. Jake stumbled and fell. "Jake!" Evan shouted after 10 feet, but he didn't answer. When Evan finally made it out of the woods and into town, he was hysterical. The next day, the police searched the woods. Police, volunteers, and locals were called in to search for Jake. The search continued for 2 days. However, Jake was not found. One of the police officers found Jake's camera. The footage lasted another hour after they started running away. And then, this creature leans over to him and whispers, "You're next." Since then, a teenager goes missing in Black Rock every Friday the 13th. And at night, the town hears laughter and the creaking of twigs.